All right, the meeting is called to order. Can everyone hear me all right? Well, thank you. Thank you, everyone, for coming out this evening. It's good again that we don't have rain. It dampened our voices here. The secretary will call the roll.
Ross? Here. Jim? Here. Lee? Here. Kayla?
Present.
Greg? Here. And Marianne? Here. All present.
All right, the minutes of the previous meeting have been distributed. Are there any corrections to the minutes? Anyone have any corrections to the minutes? Okay. If there are no corrections, the minutes are approved as they've been distributed. Also, want to go ahead and approve the agenda we have. Everyone's had a chance to look at the agenda. Are there any items that either need to add to this agenda or maybe delete from the agenda? Oh, Greg, were you able to? Okay. So I'd like to add to the agenda that we're going to have a representative from the Neighborhood Watch give us a report after the roads project portion. And then also, since we didn't get the newly revised procurement policy posted on the website for the members to be able to review, we'd like to go ahead and strike that out as part of business tonight. Also, concerning the dissolution of the Ccnr and secret committees, I want to strike out secret committees as we haven't quite come to a final decision about that. And then on the creation of the welcoming committee, we decided that we want to call that the Aloha Committee, correct? So we'll change that welcoming to Aloha. And then on the creation of the Social Welfare and Safety Committee, we'd like to strike that as well. Are there any other changes that maybe need to be made to this agenda? Okay.
I have a couple.
Yes.
Will you be talking about the landing entrance sign?
Yes. Actually, good. Thank you. So let's talk about that.
Also the Suwana Street, the barrier on the south side.
Okay. You want to bring that up in the open forum?
Okay.
Do you have questions about that? Okay. So about the signs, I know Director Penny is ready to talk about that. So we'll add that after the Neighborhood Watch portion. Okay. So any other changes to this agenda? Is everyone aware the agenda was posted last night? We're going to try to post it the night before every board meeting on the LCA website, so you can have that as well. And maybe what we ought to do is maybe bring copies next time too. So this is all stuff we're sorting out as we go and figure this out. So as the agenda is, all those who approve of going forth with this agenda as we have it, say aye. Any opposed? Say no. Okay. All right, we'll go ahead and go forth with this agenda. So first on the agenda, we're going to have the treasurer's report. I'll turn that to Greg.
Okay, we don't have an official report. There's some issues. We just got our statement this week, and there's been some of the monies were moved around right at the end of the last, just before the election. We're trying to figure out what came from where. The bottom line is okay, but we just got to make sure everything's okay before I officially put out a report. That's basically it. Like I say, the bottom line is okay. It's just where the monies have been moved around. We're not sure why it got moved and where it got moved to. Does anybody have any questions?
Greg, are we going to post as soon as it's available, the
Yes.
financials
Yes.
prior to the next meeting, we hope? Okay, thank you.
Okay. Yeah, this one's not as bad. All right. As far as we'll go forward with the roads project report. Greg and I met with Bruce Myers from Okahara and Associates this past Monday to see where we are with the project. We already discussed some of that last Friday, and so we're still in the portion where he's about ready to send out the RFQs for the various bidders, and also the report, the first quarterly report was turned in, I believe, on March 15th, I believe. And anyway, that's going forward. There may be some obstacles in the way as far as I think everybody's aware about the roads ownership. We know actually that the LCA actually does not own the roads per se, and so this is being worked on right now. Eileen O'Hara from Malama Opuna is helping us with this. We're hoping to get an audience with either Ikaika Roddenhurst or the mayor to kind of work these things out. I also just want to thank those that have done work on this project before. There was a lot of work put into it, and thank you very much. Any questions about, yes?
What's being proposed for the roads?
Say that again?
What is being proposed for the roads?
So right now, what's happening is there's going to be a request for quotes being sent out. In other words, it's going to go out to various bidders, and they can bid on the different areas to be worked on. So the first area to be worked on is going to be the Moku and Kupono areas, to fix that. And then the second area is going to be up on Malama Road. I'm trying to remember from Miley down a certain way to fix the cracks and stuff over there. Area 3 is actually the Kahukai from Leilani Avenue to the Kipuka. And so that's going to come even later. Right now, the proposed deadline for finishing is December of this year for the whole project. Like I said, there are obstacles we may have to overcome. It's likely that when we get to the Kahukai portion, we have to get permits for that. And also the engineer that's already done the assessment of area 1 and 2, we're looking at them to also assess and give us a fee proposal for the area 3 portion. Did I answer your question?
Yes, just on Kahokai, is the plan to restore it similar to the way it was? Or is it rough graded, or what's the idea?
That is largely going to depend upon the amount of monies we have for that. Okay. Yeah, because we don't even have the first two. We don't even have the bids yet, just for these first 2 areas. So it's really going to depend on that. Okay. And we're going to have Richard Skidmore come up for. So here's what we're trying to do. We're trying to work with the Neighborhood Watch, and since they're not officially a Leilani Community Association, they do their own association, but we want to work hand in hand with the Neighborhood Watch to understand kind of the things going on in the neighborhood. So I've asked Neighborhood Watch to give us a little report about our community.
Stand over here and take my mask off. So last Tuesday we had our first Neighborhood Watch meeting in a year since the pandemic started. And we had a pretty good turnout, considering that. And then since then, we've had the monthly garage sale, the monthly bingo dinner, last Saturday and this Tuesday. So basically, we're back to normal in terms of schedule, but all of those things are held out in the pavilion, so with masks and social distancing. But we're getting there, all right? During the pandemic, we had 10 new volunteers sign up since a year ago. 9 of those have been trained, one's still scheduling. And then of those 9 that are trained, 8 of them are driving shifts. So that's great for us. One of the things that came up in the March 20th board meeting, or annual meeting, I think Jay brought it up, was that it would be good if we could get our own CERT team back in place in Leilani, because that was in effect in 2014 for Zell. And we worked closely, CERT and Neighborhood Watch worked closely together after that event, and it was really productive. So after Izell, CERT kind of fell apart, and the interest is there again now to start it again. So since the Neighborhood Watch meeting last week, I've already gotten 6 people contact me to put their names on a list who are willing to be trained for CERT. And talking to the county, CERT training probably won't be until October or November because of COVID. But if you give me your name, if anyone's interested, let me know your name. I'll put you on the list, and there are some online courses that they're recommending that we do online before we go to the CERT training. And then the last thing is in August. Yes?
What does CERT stand for?
Oh, Community Emergency Response Team. In August of last summer, Hawaii Island Humane Society stopped doing animal control. They turned it over to the Rainbow Rangers, and it turns out the Rainbow Rangers also don't do animal control. So both of those entities are basically doing vaccination and neutering and adoptions. So in the interim, and our community police officer was here at the Neighborhood Watch meeting last week. In the interim, HPD does animal control when they can do it, when they're available. So now, at this point, we still take pictures of dogs that are off leash, but we send them directly to Kim at the office and give them to Kim at the office. I used to be the person who would coordinate all of that, and we have a spreadsheet that goes back 5 years with a history of all the dog violations. Kim has that now, but if there's any volunteer who wants to take that on to help Kim, it doesn't have to be a Neighborhood Watch person, it can be anyone, and I'd be happy to train you how to do that. So that's really it. That's the update.
Thank you, Richard. Any questions for Richard and Neighborhood Watch? All right. Okay, I want to announce the appointment of a new director, as is allowed by the bylaws, Article 4. Let me make sure I have that right. Anyway, by the bylaws, we can, as directors, so long as we all assent in it by writing, we can take action. And so we have all assented to the appointment of Phil Denny as the last director's position to fill on the board of directors. Yes, I went out of order, didn't I? All right. Sorry, I went out of order here. I'm going to turn the mic over to Jim Penny regarding the signs.
All right, I'll be as quick as I can possibly be. For those of you who have been here for some time, previously we were of the understanding that signs had been ordered, and so for 2 or 3 months now we've been waiting for these signs to come in. Well, as it turns out, they were never ordered at all. So in the interim, in the last couple weeks, I've been assigned to go out and get some competitive bids, in addition to which it's kind of an interesting thing when you look around at the logos We have on some of these cars a logo with the Leilani all being in white. Of course, there's one for on the community sites, on the Leilani Community Association site. And then we have this other thing that actually has pink lei and these letters. It doesn't probably look like much from where you are, but we have contacted 3 separate bidders and have quotes coming to print on this thickness right here, PVC, which won't bend. It's by the way, the preference of Michael, our maintenance manager. And we also have an option to print on what's called dye bond, equally as strong, if not stronger. It's got aluminum facing, and Michael tells me, which is new information for the board, that previously we'd had something like that, but people threw rocks and it dented. So we'll have to decide which of these 2 products, but we've got quotes in on 2. We'll get the final quote tomorrow, and then we intend as a board to approve and proceed. And in all cases, I've been told we can have the signs printed within 2 weeks at the outside. In addition to which, the previous signs were 2 by 3, and one of the complaints was they weren't big enough. Now we're going to have 2 identical size signs, 3 by 4. The rock wall is only 4 feet tall, so 3 feet high gives us a little clearance top and bottom. And anyway, we still don't have illumination out there other than the street light at night, but this should be much more visible than anything we've had in the past. Any questions? Yes, sir?
Has a decision been made on the logo?
On the logo, this is the one currently.
There's not enough contrast there to make out the logo.
Well, from here, if you look on my phone, you can see the difference. I understand. I don't know that our professional photographer over here can change that. I'll get with him afterwards and see if we can Photoshop it. Here comes Richard with an image for you. Thank you. Any other questions? Thank you.
All right, going to our next order of business. I'm going to turn the mic over to Greg as we approve expenses.
Okay, I have 2 that we need approval for. The first one is for $2,000 for Okahara and Associates. They initially had were paid for the services they did, but he explained to us the other day when we were there that he had to come out and do some additional work, and he requested an additional $2,000. So I'd like to get an approval to pay that $2,000 to Okahara and Associates.
Greg, how much have you paid in altogether so far?
It's not 9,034 or an additional 2,000 for additional work. Okay, so I move that we pay Okahara and Associates $2,000 for the additional engineering work.
Any discussion? Okay. Ross? Jim?
Yep.
Lee, yes. Carol?
Yes.
Greg?
Yes.
Marianne?
Yes.
And who's that now?
Yes.
All approved.
Thank you. The second one is for our director and liability policy with Brown and Brown, $22,100, and it needs to be paid in the next week. So it's $22,100. They did give us an option of paying over a 9-month period, but they wanted $700 in interest. So if we were better just to pay it off and be done with it. And that's for $1 million limit.
Is that the same deductible, Greg?
The deductible is higher. Yeah, 35,000 deductible. Yeah.
Greg, are there any alternatives to directors and officers insurance? Are there any alternatives to other insurance providers that might be less expensive?
No, she actually gave us a whole list of all the people that she had contacted, and I forget how many was on there. Most of them completely declined us. I mean, they wouldn't even look at us because of claims. There was one that said they would review us next year that might give us a better deal, but that was the best she could do. So I'd make a motion that we pay $22,100 for our D&O policy to Brown & Brown.
I'll make the second. Ross?
Yes.
Jim? Can't wait till I call you. Lee? Yes. Kayla? Yes. Greg?
Yes.
Mary Ann?
Yes.
Phil?
Yes.
Bruce?
All right, the next agenda item is the dissolution of the Ccnr committee. So, making a motion that we dissolve the Ccnr committee. Is there any discussion about this?
That doesn't mean that we're not going to be enforcing CCRs, it's just the committee, is that correct?
That's correct.
Thank you.
Any other discussion?
Why are you dismissing the committee if you're still there?
Because the architectural committee is actually the one that's formed for enforcing CCNRs. So we're going back to that the architectural committee will do that. And they will be the ones making the final decisions on CCNR violations. Did anyone else have any other questions?
Excuse me, Phil, does that committee exist currently?
We will be forming that committee, and if I'm not mistaken, Jim Penny has already volunteered to head up that committee. There's also, we have in the works someone that's not here on island right now who has been chairman of the committee before, who also has at least given us a verbal, now I can't even think of the word, but he's verbally said that he would be willing to do so again. And then we'll most likely have we'll have another board member on the committee, but we'll decide that later. But we definitely want to make sure that we're have the architectural committee in place and working for us here in the community. So any more discussion on this matter? Okay, we'll go ahead and call the vote.
Ross? Jim? Yes. Lee? Yes. Kayla?
Yes.
Greg?
Yes.
Mary Ann?
Yes.
Phil?
Yes.
Approved.
Next item on the agenda is the creation of a welcoming committee, which we're going to call the Aloha Committee. Those people that are familiar with the charter of incorporation, let me see if I can find it right here. I should have already had it. It's right here. So we're really going to try to align the things we do with the objects and purposes of the charter as they're described in the charter. And so one of the things it says in the charter is third on page 2. It says the corporation shall be organized and operated exclusively for general public social welfare and safety purposes within the meaning of section 501c3, 4, and 7 of the Internal Revenue Code. So these are the objects and purposes that we can find in the charter is what we, like I said, want to align our purposes with. And so we feel that this Aloha Committee fulfills at least this portion to promote and encourage a better community and civic spirit among and to foster goodwill and friendship between all property owners of Leilani Estates. So with that, I will turn it over to Mary Ann because I believe she wanted to make this motion.
Thank you, Kayla. You basically said what I wanted to say. That's totally fine, but this is something that's been near and dear to my heart. Neighbors, aloha. And I'd like to have a standing committee in that. Moving forward, we're working on a new cover letter to give to new residents and working on hope to start this committee to work on a welcoming wagon type idea moving forward. So my motion tonight is to create a standing Aloha committee to promote and encourage a better community and to foster goodwill and friendship between all property owners of Leilani Estates. It's my motion to create this.
Is there any discussion?
Do you have a budget plan, or do you know?
I have no budget. I want input, anybody that will give it to me. There were some questions, let's see. Who can participate? Well, I want to say who can't participate, I'm not sure. I'd like to meet once a month for about an hour to start with, to get input and move forward with this. And perhaps it was suggested to have an orientation, a meet and greet, perhaps also once a month. So just some thoughts and ideas.
Any other discussion? Any questions from anybody out, any of the members? All right, if there's no further discussion, we'll call this motion to a vote. All those in, we'll go ahead and do a roll call vote. Okay?
Ross? Jim? Lee, yes. Caliola? Yes. You? Yes. Greg? Yes. Mary Ann?
Yes.
Phil?
Yes.
Approved.
Okay, the motion is approved. Next on the agenda, make a motion to create a special committee, the budget committee. We'll go ahead and open that up for discussion. And while we're on this, I know at least in the forum, one of the things I stated is I'd like to have us have a budget within 30 days of us being elected onto the board. And I still would like to see that we can get that done. And in doing so, want to again have Phil be the head of that committee, as he's did one last year, and has been working to try to get a budget done. And so I would like Phil to head that budget committee.
Yes.
Any discussion on this matter?
As I understand it, one of the reasons we're kind of not late, we didn't get the financials in time from the bank because of the transfer of the directors. Correct?
No, they don't come until the first week of the fall.
First week following, okay. Which was last week. This week.
Viola, how much time do we have left to meet your 30-day deadline?
Where are we at?
Today is the 8th.
Yeah, so looking at
April 28th? Got 12 days?
18th or 20th, yeah,
So yes, if we try to get this done,
Okay.
and just just keep us up to date. We'll try to get this done within 30 days. If not, we want to still try to push to at least have this done by our next board meeting, I would say.
I'll second.
Any other discussion? Yeah. So obviously you'll be working with Greg, so he can be our other board member on that committee. Any more discussion? If not, we'll go ahead and take a vote by roll call.
Ross? Yes. Jim? Yep. Lee? Yes. Carol?
Yes.
Greg? Yes. Marianne?
Yes.
Phil? Yes.
All right, the motion is approved. Is there any, as we've been in this meeting, is there any new business that you can think of that we ought to bring up? No? Okay. Well, with that, we'll go ahead and have our open forum. We ask that all members keep their comments limited to no more than about 3 minutes. In the event you need more than 3 minutes, maybe we can work something out where you can take time at the next board meeting to present something that might be longer than that. And so we can get that on the agenda of the next meeting. But nevertheless, we'll go ahead and open the floor for anyone that has any questions or comments.
I have a question.
Sure.
I don't need that. All right. Do we have any idea when the office might be open?
Kim's getting her first shot tomorrow, so possibly next week I'm going to talk to her and see how she feels about it.
It's the county, so we're still under some county restraint, or we're
No,
getting closer?
It's Kim, she doesn't have her shots.
Okay. Does everybody?
Did everyone hear that? So the office being open is more of a decision by Kim. She wants to get her COVID vaccinations, and that she'll feel more comfortable opening it fully once she's received those vaccinations.
And she's there, if somebody comes to the door, she goes and helps them. It's not like there's nobody there to help you.
Right. Let's see. Mark, is that you back? Didn't you have something you wanted to bring up?
Yeah, I just wanted to throw this out on the barrier on Water Street, south side. Maybe the board can look into that and see if you can work with the property owner. Because I've talked to him about it, and it didn't seem like he wanted to put it back in. Or not even a gate. But I prefer putting a barrier back. Yeah. Because with it wide open, there's not very much tourists, but when tourists come, they come.
Yeah.
And they just drive straight in.
So where would you suggest the barrier be put? Just at the end of where
Right
they,
where it was.
right where it was?
Yeah.
Right in the pavement?
Right. But I don't know why he took it out for. He didn't even get permission from the board. Yeah. So, something the board can look into.
Okay.
Well, appreciate it.
I do know that he's going to his property almost every day. I recently spoke to him to ask his opinion about what can be done down there. He said at this point, he said there's not a lot of foot traffic down there. He said that the fact that some delineation has been made about the properties out there, whether people have staked it or not, he seems to think that that has helped. But nevertheless, that still needs to be a discussion that goes forward.
So just trying to keep that sacred end.
Right.
Right now it's been trashed and ATV's been trembling on the mountain.
I've also asked a couple members about that as well. They haven't seen anything lately, not for quite a while. I think, Lee, weren't you saying that they also access it from quite a few other areas? Yeah, mostly Leilani. Oh, and that was one of the things we didn't discuss. I think we failed to mention last week. When the recovery team came last week, we actually spoke a little bit about Leilani down here and all the people coming here and just totally ignoring the signs and going anyway. So I think one of the things that was brought up was maybe there could be something the county could do, because there are many members that feel that even though it would be nice to have a lookout or whatever down there at the Y, that really won't stop people from coming into Leilani. And most people that know anything about it are just going to come right in anyway. And so there was a little bit of discussion about maybe opening something up by the county at Leilani, but haven't heard anything back from them yet. Just to kind of keep the traffic off those outer streets. So that is still under discussion though. Anything else I can answer for you? No? Okay, thank you.
When are we gonna do something about the dangerous trees on Pomacata?
Well, since you know the answer, all we get.
You want me to address?
Yeah, go ahead. You know the-
For those people that don't know, we had some huge trees right over here on Pomacai with a couple barricades, and they were quite dangerous. People, things falling off and so on, potentially hurting people. In the meantime, 2 lots where the biggest trees were have now been cleared. So that situation, which has been brought up several times here over the past few months, has resolved itself. Thank you.
Oh yeah, just to make mention too, Mike Ramsdale and Daniel something are the new property owners, and so they're the ones who took those trees down. It's on their properties now. Any other questions or comments? Yes.
I have a question. Is a restaurant being cleaned every day?
Yes.
Okay, good.
Yes, they are.
I'm just curious, is everybody on the board a new member or new existing?
We have one who is a previous member, Phil Denny.
Okay.
Greg Armstrong has served previously on the board here as well. And Ross Stadnick has as well. Huh? I said Phil right at the beginning. So yeah, we have 3 previous members who have served on the board before.
Great, thank you.
Any other questions? Yes.
I just wanted to kick around the SBA loan, which I understand we're going to lose our option on it here in another week or 2. When the original estimates for the work required to restore were done, it was up in the range of $500,000, which is what we actually applied for grant-wise, but we got $375,000. Part of the scale back was to eliminate the Kapuka effort out of the grant money. That leaves, and can it be done for the estimated part? In reality, we don't know yet where we're going to come up with the Kapuka money. So we need to make a move, as I understand it, to accept some sort of loan. Otherwise, they're going to close us out. If we accept it, we don't have to use it. Just keep it in the bank and pay it back in 2 months or whatever we determine we don't need it. Or if we need part of it, then use it. It's at 2.5% interest.
Okay, I'll go ahead and answer that for you. The truth is, it just spoke to the SBA today. That loan was canceled February 12th last year.
There's still an option.
There's still an option, but there are hoops we're going to have to jump through now.
Well, that means
We have to reapply. So that's what we're trying to do right now. We're trying to figure that all out because, like I said, I spoke with them today, trying to figure out where we were with that. Because our understanding is that loan was still open.
no, it was
Right, and so like I said, a whole year ago it was canceled. So we're trying to figure out that as well. We're working on that.
Gotcha.
Right now.
The other alternative is it's got to come out of the general fund.
Right, that's correct.
Okay, another item that I brought up at least 3 times.
Jay, I just want to make a point. We didn't get the paperwork until Sunday or Monday. So that's the reason why it's all.
It's all from me for a long time. Something else I brought up about 3 times at least over history is that we do something about our AV equipment. The V is absent and our audio equipment, frankly, is probably not as good as most teenagers has in their bedroom. There ought to be at least 3 or 4 microphones up there, a mixer, better speakers.
and video. As well as, gee, what if somebody wants to make a real presentation? Is there any video? No, for screen or whatever. Something to consider. It's not that expensive.
Yeah, just briefly, we are looking into that. These speakers are actually leased. As it cut out on me. These speakers are actually leased. I brought some extra speakers and cables too that I personally own. So that's something we're trying to figure out as well. Because I believe we are supposed to have Wi-Fi access under here, but no, we don't. Okay, that would be a help, and maybe one of these days when we get out of this whole COVID thing, we can meet back in the office where that might be available.
I thought they had installed a external amplifier on the corner of the building to cover the pavilion here.
Okay, that's something I don't know about. Maybe, yeah, I don't know about that.
Because the pavilion should actually be included in this whole deal. My final item is reserve funds, and not to let that fall by the wayside.
You're right. That's not going to fall by the wayside. We're just, at this time, with the pandemic going on and people struggling to meet financial obligations, that's still going to be considered. But at this point, we just kind of hold off on that. But still, definitely look at the reserve fund and what we can do going forward.
Okay, hold up. If I could address that, when we looked at, tried to do the budget for last year, we looked at that very carefully. And the budget we crafted allowed for a $50,000 contribution to the reserve fund. We would hope that, given the current financial situation, that we would be able to do at least that, and perhaps more. As you know, Jay, this is a very sticky issue because it's a lot of money if you agree with the people who are the professionals. Whether that's possible or not remains to be seen. I think everyone here would agree that we have to live within our means. And so our approach, or at least my approach, is going to be to try and meet our expenses within our income and put as much away for the future as we possibly can. And we'll see how that plays out. Again, as you know, there's a lot of factors that go into here. What is our collection ratio? What is the assessment structure to do? How will that work? So we're going to start that. I just got this assignment today, and I have 12 days to come up with something. So I'm going to try and address that. Okay.
Well, the biggest single thing is the old "you can pay me now or pay me later," and when you pay me later, it comes with a lot of interest.
I understand. I understand.
And it isn't a matter of what people can afford, because when we get hit with some need to do something that would have to come out of the reserve, we have to cough. That's all there is to it. Which means that we will have an assessment that is, not a fee. It'll be an assessment.
Well, that of course is one of the options given our system is to cover unexpected expenses with a special assessment. And perhaps if we cannot come up with cash on the barrelhead in the bank, that we could have some kind of a hybrid that we could contribute as much funds as we can and realize that at some point we may have to have a special assessment as we've had before. So it may have to be a hybrid of those things. We'll just see what the numbers are going to show.
Any other more comments or questions? Yes.
I don't know if Jay has a smartphone, but anybody that does can check Wi-Fi. We do have Wi-Fi.
Okay.
The other thing is about the roads. I know how important it is to correct the damages that were caused by the fissure rate and the lava flow and the like. But I do have a concern about the other roads in Ley Line is creeping in and tearing up the edges of the asphalt. There are some stretches that are really not 2 cars wide, and I'm concerned that we're losing sight of maintenance on those, and that those will exact some cost at a later date. So I'm not sure what normally is done, but it seems to have fallen off since the incident.
Yeah, I have to review, I've already reviewed Kim, and I have to go over Michael's job description and just make sure that there's some things, it looks like some things have dropped off his list, so they will be added back on again.
I just wanted to respond to Kathy a little bit about my bathroom issue. You were asking about the bathroom. So when Michael went on vacation back in December, I was at a board meeting and heard when he came into after a weekend, and then he was going on vacation. I realized no one was cleaning the bathrooms for 2 weeks on his vacation, so I volunteered.
Wow.
And then volunteered to do the weekends when he's not here. And I continue to do that, but I would love to have someone take a weekend, a month, and check the bathrooms. It just takes me 20 minutes, check both bathrooms, mirrors, sink, toilet cover. So, just so you know, I do the weekends.
I appreciate you do this, that's great, I'm glad it's back on Michael's list.
Well, he makes sure every morning there's paper and so on and so forth. I mean, he takes care of it during the weekday, but
Yeah.
I generally check Friday evenings and then Saturday, Sunday.
Good for you.
Thank you.
Just
Thank you very much for your service.
for a little defense of Michael, I mean, he can clean the bathroom now, and an hour from now, somebody would have gone in there and messed it up. So.
Yeah, okay, yeah, I just wanna make sure it's back, cause they took it off of what he used to do, and it led to, people had to clean it up, and thank you, Marianne, for stepping in.
Well, and also I know he locks up every night, but then I checked on it when it was detached from the wall. It was never attached to anything but the drywall, and so I called Greg because the sink had backed up, and I realized it was because the sink was askew attached from the drywall. It wasn't actually plugged. I tried to use a plunger to clear it, and so I called Greg. I said, "Will you lock it up?" And Michael fixed it first thing Monday morning and attached it properly.
So
Didn't have to call
someone
anyone.
pulled it out over the weekend?
Well, they either sat on it or,
Wow.
it sits real low, which is probably appropriate for wheelchair access and so on, which I'd like to check into also to make that a little more ADA appropriate for that.
Yeah, the issue with that was when the vendor installed the new sink in there, they missed the stud in the wall, they just attached it to the drywall.
Oh, wow.
So we were waiting, they were supposed to come back and fix it, and meanwhile Michael fixed it in like a half an hour.
Yeah.
Okay, well, great. I'm glad somebody's looking after it.
Thank you.
Not just somebody, it's Mary.
I know, somebody very important. I mean, these things seem ridiculous, but, we do have a lot of families that come, especially on the weekend. It's nice if we're gonna be, and people go in there, that we have a nice, place to show.
Glad you appreciate it.
Any other comments or questions? Yes.
Just a quick one. We used to have 2 people for maintenance, full-time. And the eruption took away 37% of our streets. We went to 1 person. We've got a certain amount of deficiency there, so we might consider at least another half-time guy. But, I think we've gotten to that point because the vegetation is just growing slow, it's sinking fast, post-eruption.
Yeah, we're, like I said, Greg's been in communication with Michael, see if this actually is, he can handle all those things, and so we'll make a determination from there. Any other questions or comments? All right. Just real quickly as an announcement, in the future we'll be looking for a webmaster. David Dye has agreed to do that for some time until we can find someone else. And so if you know anybody that's good at that stuff, wouldn't mind volunteering to help put stuff on the web for us, we'd greatly appreciate that. Other than that, we have no other business. I move to adjourn this meeting. All those in favor, say aye. Any opposed? All right, this meeting is adjourned.